Welcome to another episode of Convocourses podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see I'm in a closet. It's because my house is getting has some renovations being done, and caused me some issues last week, some technical issues. But what we're going to talk about today is got a few things. I'm going to tell you about some updates that are coming to the courses. I'm going to answer some questions from some folks that have asked me questions on the YouTube channel, and some questions on email, some questions on Discord, and if you happen to be watching me live, you can ask me questions right now. We're going to talk about a little bit about privacy, and then somebody asked me about a really good question about what path I took to get to cybersecurity analyst. What's the path, the career path for a cybersecurity analyst? And I'm just going to tell you my experience to give you some idea of what you can do to get into that SOC position or that NOC position. Okay, let's start off with the updates. So I've got an update that's coming. If you didn't know, if you're watching this for the first time or you're listening to this on podcast for the first time, I do courses. I'm a cybersecurity consultant for a major company. And I've been doing this for a long time, mostly security compliance. And so what I've started doing is just documenting what I do and then how other people can get into this career field, and to just tell you the secret sauce of what I've been doing for all these years to be employed and to make good money and also work remotely. So that's what my courses are about. It's about my personal experience. Lately, I've been trying to open it up to other cybersecurity people who have great experience, way more than me in some cases in different areas, and I'm trying to get them to also put into this pot and also help people out. And I do this for fun and for profit, by the way. So the course that I'm going to update, that I've been updating over time, is this one right here. This is Risk Management ISO Security Controls and Documentation, where what I do is I deep dive into each one of the NIST 853 controls, and I interpret them and tell you from my experience of a person who's actually working in this field right now. I'm telling you, here's how you do it. Here's how this agency's done it. Here's how this agency's done it. That's what I do. So that's what is going into this course right here. There's lots of free stuff if you want to sign up for free. Tons of free stuff out there for you. And I'm going to be adding more families to this. You know that this has like 20 some odd families that are associated with it right now. I have 3, but there's another one coming out soon. Here's a template for it. This is configuration management. Super important to all organizations, great and small. And so that's why I figured it's really time for me to cover this one. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I really haven't seen anybody cover this in courses before, especially not how I do it. And giving you templates of how to write it and things like that, and interpret it from different perspectives. So that's what I'm doing there. And next, what I want to do is address some questions that people have been asking me on my YouTube channel. And let me see. There was a couple really good ones. Here's a really good one. Trezor asks, "Hi, hope you're doing good. As an ISO, do I really need some certs? And if it's yes, which ones? Please name them." And then somebody named Millie said that you should get the Security Plus, the Network Plus, and CISM, and one of these: CISM, CISSP, and CISA. Those are all good certs. But from my experience, it really depends on the job. It depends on what the job is asking. They usually put what they need from you, what the requirements are, in the job description. So you got to pay very close attention to the job description. They'll usually say, "Hey, we require that you get this or that certification. We prefer that you get this or that certification." The interpretation is, if they say required, they really want it. There's no way around it. You can talk to them, but more than likely, they're gonna take the person who has it. If they say preferred, then that just means that if you have it, great. If you don't, then maybe somebody who does have it might be able to one-up you when you're going through the resume process. So to answer your question, it depends on the job. They'll typically ask you for it. They'll tell you the requirements and preferred. Now, if they actually say, yes, we want a certification, your question was, for an ISO, what types of certifications do they want? What do they look? From what I've seen, is CISSP pretty much catch all. If you have that, you got a job. A CASP is also a very good one. That's from CompTIA. Another one is the ISC2 CAP. That's a good one. That's very, very focused with ISSOs. If you have that one, you really know the NIST 800 security compliance controls. CISA is a good one. CISM is a good one. Security Plus is also a really good one. So let me show you where this knowledge is coming from. This is coming from my years of experience, but also there's a document that you can look at called 8140. So I'm surprised people don't talk about this more often. But 8140 breaks down. Let me just see if I can bring this up. Bring up a more current version of the 8140. Previously called 8570, but has been replaced. So let me bring that up. Yeah, so they're saying this site right here is talking about how it's been replaced, but here it is right here. If you let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you to see it before I start talking about it. And yeah, this is actually on the ISA site is where they're getting this from. Hold on, let me do some doctoring here to make this a little bit bigger for everybody to see. Yeah, this is a requirement that many federal agencies have started looking for, and some other industries such as banks and hospitals have also followed suit to go by this particular little breakdown. I could just kind of explain this matrix to you real quick. But if you look at this right here, this is IA says, if you can see this, it says IAT level 1, and that just means information assurance technical. Information assurance is another word for cybersecurity, by the way, so more DoD jargon. But what they're looking for is, this is entry level type position. This is not necessarily just entry level, but tier 1. This is the first person that if you pick up the phone and you're saying, hey, I need to fix my computer, the first person you're going to talk to is a tier 1 type person. And so this IA level 1 person, tier 1 person, they're expected to have one of these certifications, technical certifications: an A+, a CCNA security, a Network Plus CE, or an SSCP. So those are some of the things that they're looking for. This IAM right below it, that means Information Assurance Manager level 1. That means like you're an immediate supervisor. Maybe you have 1 or 2, 3 people underneath you who you're supervising, not underneath you, but you're supervising them. So they're expecting a CAP, an ISC CAP, a GSLC, a Security Plus. What you'll see here is a Security Plus is gold. Like, it's Security Plus and CISSP. Those two you'll see throughout this little matrix here as we go. But another one is, let's just stick with this top tiers, top levels right here. So IAM, this whole level right here, is dealing with if you're a manager. Like if you're immediate, this one's immediate manager, this one's like mid-tier manager, and then this one's upper level manager. And then it also depends on what's the scope of how many people you're managing and what the resources you're managing. So this one right here is typically like a help desk immediate supervisor. This one's like maybe a floor, like a local area network. You're managing a local area network and a few people beneath it. And then this one's for, like, it's specialized. It's for an enclave. It's for a program management mission system. And it also can include all these lower tiers right here. But you can see that the level 2 manager is a CAP, a CASP, a CISM, a CISSP. And if we go back up to the technical side, the level 2 is second tier type people. Like, this is people who fix network issues. like issues that might extend beyond just the computer, just the laptop. This is issues that are connectivity to a server, things like that. So these people are, the government is looking for you to have a tier 2 type certification. So that's what Information Assurance Technical Level 2 means. So they're looking for you to have a CCNA Security, a CSA Plus, a CISP, a GSEC, once again Security Plus, kind of a catch-all between these two, between these 3 items right here, and then SSCP. So those are the things that they're looking for you to have. And then on the upper level, this is an Information Assurance Technical Level 3. This is a person who maybe they are specialized in networking, maybe they're specialized in a server. It's usually specialized people, so they have to know what's going on the enclave, on the network. They have to know how to do basic troubleshooting, and they also have like a specialization, whereas databases, or they're a network professional, or they're a firewall person. This is a level 3 type person, but they're looking for a CASP CE, a CCNP Security Hard Certification, by the way, a CISA, a CISSP, a GCED, or a GCIH. So this is kind of where I am drawing, why I'm saying that a Security Plus is good, a CASP is good, a CISSP is good, because all of these fit into the work of an information system security officer. All of those things will help you out. A Security Plus will help you out, a CASP will help you out, and so will a Security Plus. The other ones that I mentioned were a CISA and a CISM. The reason why I mentioned a CISA and CISM is because I've noticed a lot of government, even though it's listed way down here somewhere as an auditor, because CIS is mostly for auditors, I've noticed that they'll take a CISA, and they're highly sought after. And you can also apply for something like a bank or something, because CISAs are really looked after with bank in the banking industry. So I hope that answers your question. I think I had another question here from Sean Briggs. I'll do my best to answer this one. Sean says here, hello, I'm currently studying for Splunk, but I don't have experience. So he's trying to get a certification for Splunk and then just know how to use it, but doesn't have experience. Do you know of any situations where companies let people volunteer their time in order to gain experience after gaining their certification? So I can just tell you my experience, Shaw. Sorry, Shaw. I keep calling you Sean. Shaw. My experience, when I kind of did the same thing that you did. So I was working in a SOC, in a security operations center, where you're kind of monitoring data coming in and out of a network, and you're looking for interesting traffic that's like security related, like if there's denial of service attacks, or if this crazy traffic's coming from a specific country. That's kind of stuff we were looking at. And I was wanting to get into a SIEM called ArcSight, and at the time ArcSight was this huge SIEM and a SIEM is it's a security information event manager, and basically it consolidates all the logs throughout a network. And why that's important is because network logs that are coming through in and out of your system, in and out of your routers, your switches, and in and out of your firewall, all that kind of stuff, is really gives you a picture of what's going on your network, in your environment. So that's why logs are super important. So Splunk, ArcSight, QDAR, and QRadar, and some other SIEMs are super important to large environments. Anyway, so I was an IDS IPS kind of guy, and I was looking at the logs coming in and out of IDS IPS, and we were also managing them across like hundreds of different systems throughout our environment. And I wanted to go into ArcSight, but I didn't have any experience. So what they did was they did a lateral move. I just moved from IDS over to ArcSight, and they trained me on the job training. And I didn't even need a certification or anything, but I knew the environment so well that, you know, because I'd been working there for like 6 months to a year, that I knew the environment well enough to all I had to do was pick up this new tool, this ArcSight tool, and I was able to pick it up and then also go out and get a certification. So from what I have seen and what I've experienced, that's what you can do is like a lateral move. Like if you are in a company or an organization where they have Splunk somewhere else, but you're working on firewalls or something, you could ask if you could actually help work on that Splunk system. That's where I have seen it. But other than that, kind of walking off the street on a system like Splunk, I've not seen anyone just get hired on a system like that, because they really need people who know what they're doing. Now, if you know the environment, you've been there for a while, then yeah, you might be able to swing something like that. But just, you know, I hope that helps you out. And if anybody else has some experience that's similar to that, please feel free to add to this, to put it in the comments, and I'll read it, and we can pass it on to other people to help them out. Okay, I had another pretty good question here that I wanted to address. Let me see. Can you do a video about the future of cybersecurity, like certs? What certs do I think people should invest in? This is actually a good question. Okay, the question is, what is the future of cybersecurity, and what certs should you invest in? Yeah, this is actually a good one. I can talk to this one. So let me show you right here real quick. Here's what I would recommend right now. Right now, what's super hot is cloud. Not necessarily this particular certification, but any kind of cloud certification. But in particular, I would say Amazon cloud certifications are the hottest right now in the market. Right now, I work for a Fortune 1000, whatever it is, a Fortune 1000 company, and they are pushing this hard because all of our clients are going to the cloud. And the cloud, if I can just give in a nutshell what it is all of us use it. To give you a specific example what cloud is Gmail. Gmail is cloud. It's a service that is elsewhere. It's somewhere else. It's managed by someone else on their servers. They do all the security. They do all the stuff. You are just logging in. You're not maintaining that email service. You're not maintaining the security. You're not maintaining the patches on the back end. You don't know nothing about that stuff. All you do is do email, right? That's the cloud. So the services, whether it's the computing or the storage or the any kind of resources you're using, they're elsewhere. Now, thinking about this, I use cloud for so many things. Like I use cloud for my website is the cloud. If I'm using, say, Bluehost is, I'm using their resources to put my content on it. YouTube is a cloud service. Netflix is a streaming service that uses a cloud service. I don't know if you knew this, but Netflix uses Amazon as their back-end cloud service. So all their data is all those video files that they have, and all their whole infrastructure is on, I think, AWS. So you can Google that, don't quote me, but so that's another. All of us are using cloud. So as a result, that's where the industry is going. It's a cloud certification is a really good thing to have right now, and it pays like crazy. So just to give you kind of a picture here, here's more cloud certifications in the searches. What this is showing is the searches on Simply Hired, the searches on Indeed, searches on, and why that's important is because that means that many people, not just people who are looking for jobs, but also job recruiters and companies, there's a lot of activity around this particular cert. So this is right here is the top cert right here is AWS Certified Solution Architect, top cloud cert, hands down. It's not even marketability. It's out there. It's on fire. And then another one is the CCNA Cloud. I didn't even know they had that. CCNP Cloud, See, and then see how all the big players are all jumping in on there. And what I don't see on here is Google. I don't see the ISC2. I don't see CompTIA. All those people have cloud. CompTIA, if you didn't know, is one of the largest, one of the top certification places out there. They have a cloud certification. Let me just show you here. CompTIA cloud. Let's see here. Show you what I'm talking about here. Certifications. So Cloud Plus. Look at that. CompTIA has one. ISC2 has one. It's called CCSP. So Microsoft has one. I bet you even Oracle has one. I bet Oracle has one too. So the fact that all of these major companies all have a cloud-based certification and a cloud-based solution should be very, very telling. So your question, Sika, was, where do I think that the future is going? It's cloud. It's all cloud. Speaking of cloud, somebody asked me about doing a video on FedRAMP, which, if you didn't know, I already did a couple videos on FedRAMP, and they're pretty high level. FedRAMP is the federal... okay. Let me see if I can get this acronym without looking it up. Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. And what it is the federal government's response to cloud. So the U.S. federal government, what they did was they consolidated one place where you can actually go to a marketplace and choose a cloud service. And let me just go there and see if I can show you what I'm talking about. FedRAMP. Yeah, here's FedRAMP right here. And these guys, this is the government, the U.S. government. This is .gov, FedRAMP.gov. The U.S. government, their solution for cloud, and they don't have their own cloud service. But what they do is they authorize certain cloud service providers to help out the Justice Department, the Health Department, Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, all those. And so they have a marketplace of all approved providers out there, which this one's taking a while to come up. But yeah, so then they also have a process where they make sure that the federal agency is following all the NIST federal guidelines, all the things like FISMA and the Federal Information System Modernization Act and all those kinds of things out there. So these are all the approved cloud services that you can use right here. And then how many people are authorized to use this one, AppPlane Cloud, and AWS is on this list, by the way. I had to look it up. I was like, where's AWS? I don't see it on here. But Google's on here. Yeah, there it is right there. There's Amazon Cloud Server. They got one for Gov. I mean, they're killing it. Amazon's killing it on the cloud. So yeah, the future is in the cloud. I think it's going to go more and more in the cloud. And pretty soon, it's going to be... Here's what it is right here. Pretty soon, it's going to be just like networking. Like, where if you call yourself an IT professional at some point, you're going to have to mess with Linux. You're going to have to mess with networking. You're going to have some basic understanding of networking, Linux, and obviously I don't even have to mention to you Windows, So I think cloud will be on that level. Like, you'll have to add cloud to that list of things, and that's happening right now, real time. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, sir. And what else was I going to cover today before I end this podcast? And if you guys have any questions, I see a few people watching me here, and if you're coming late, the reason why I'm in my closet is because my house is getting renovated right now, so gonna have to be in a closet for a while. In the closet, figuratively and literally. Kidding. Let me see what else did I want to cover here. There was something like last week. What I was trying to talk about is a question somebody asked me about how to. Their question was, They said a cybersecurity analyst career path. Is it a must or advisable to start from a SOC or a NOC center, or can you go straight entry level into cybersecurity analyst jobs? There's entry level SOC jobs. There are entry level SOC jobs. If you have the experience and the background in a SOC, you can get into it. If you're entry level and you're trying to get into a SOC job, here's what I would do. What I would do is I would go on Indeed.com. This is just one site, by the way. And let me just readjust my screen so you can see what I'm about to type here, real time, for everybody to see. All right, so here's what I would do. I would just go to let's just start simple. SOC. Let's just see if there's any SOC jobs. Now this is, you probably want to put your location wherever you are on here. Wherever you're at, put that in there. So this is pretty good pay, right? Some of these pretty good paying jobs. Yeah, there's a couple remote jobs for SOC. That's pretty interesting. But then, okay, so we know that this is a real keyword, SOC, because I can see a couple SOC jobs in here, but you also put in security compliance analyst and some other things. Okay, but here's what we do. So we want an entry level job. Just put entry level. Let's just keep it simple. See if we can find something. Yeah, there you go. Here's an entry level SOC tier 1 position. So let's look at this. Like, what are they looking for? Description: tier 1 at a SOC. Okay, it's kind of describing overall what they're doing there. But what we want to look at is the minimum requirements, because this right here tells us whether we want to keep reading or not. Because they're going to tell you, hey, we need a bachelor's degree. You don't have a bachelor's degree, move on. Go to the next thing. If they require the minimum experience is a bachelor's degree or a master's, and you don't have that, move on. So they're saying it's a bachelor's degree, let me see, academic or work experience with TCP/IP networking, knowledge, okay. So yeah, look, this is an entry-level job. I don't see any gotchas. This is pretty basic. So to answer your question, yes, you can. What do I advise for a career path? I'm going to give you some advice, but it'll be based off of what I did for my career path, and that'll give you an idea, because I don't know where you're at. Talking to the person who asked me this question, I don't know where they are in the grand scheme of things. I'm assuming that they're a entry-level cybersecurity person, that they have some IT experience. I'm assuming that, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's what I would do if I was looking for an entry-level SOC job. And you can do this with Dice.com, one of the top U.S. technical sites to go to. You can do it with CareerJet. You can do it with LinkedIn. You can do it with, there's literally millions of different job aggregators out there. I would use at least 10 of them. Okay, but what I want to do is give you like more context about how to approach this and give this a little bit more information here. So where I started off was tier 1, basic tier 1, basic computer knowledge, troubleshooting. I started on the help desk. I was in the Air Force, and that gave me a solid foundation. I didn't have a degree. I was coming out of grunt work. I was a cop. I was security forces in the Air Force that I did for 5 years. I knew criminal justice. I know the US UCMJ, how to arrest people, how to apprehend people. I was a weapons specialist, grunt work, stuff like that is what I did for 5 years. So then I was like, I want to do computers. I love computers so much, and I got into it. And so I cross-trained, is what we call it in the Air Force, cross-rate, change MOS, depending on what branch of the military you're in. But I cross-trained into COM, was what they called it at the time. And I did help desk. And then from there, having basic troubleshooting knowledge, basic knowledge of networking, basic knowledge of computers, systems, I was able to get into network engineering. They had a little position open. They said, hey, we need some people over here to do this, to do network engineering. Network engineering. And so I did that for a while, and that was basically me helping to troubleshoot routers and switches. Completely different feel, different environment, and I got great exposure to networking and TCP/IP and routing protocols and all that kind of stuff that I completely forgot over the years. But that foundation allowed me to have a greater understanding of things like basic security practices, and that helped me to get into security compliance, which I hated when I first did. Security compliance is mostly documentation, it's regulations, it's federal standards, it's stuff like that, and I want to be hands-on. I want to be that computer hacker, with the glasses and the script going across his glass and stuff like that. I didn't want to just do compliance. Turns out I was really good at it, and it's been paying me for years, so I can't complain anymore about it. But these two things right here allowed me to go to the next step, which is I specialized in Unix for a while. That was really fun. I learned a lot with that one, and it helped me with the Linux commands and stuff, being an information system field tech and knowing how weapon. I was working on a weapon system. And how technology is integrated into doing all these real high-level stuff. And all of this right here, these two tiers helped me to get into SOC and security system administration. And today, what I do is cybersecurity consulting, because I know a little bit about a lot of things now, and I'm super deep in just compliance. I'm super duper deep in compliance, but I know enough about network engineering to where I could probably put up together a basic network. I could develop a basic web page, but I'm by no stretch of the imagination an expert in network engineering or software engineering or Linux or Unix or anything like that. So that's kind of my journey through a career path, and I say this to help somebody else out there who's wondering, how do you get from here to there, So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Let me see. There was some other things I was talking about last week that my system went down, but I want to talk about it right now. This especially goes out to young people. I want to tell you guys why I don't use my real name or real location on the internet. Now, I know it sounds paranoid, but once I show you what I'm about to show you, I think you're going to have a little bit of healthy paranoia as well. Never put your real name and real location on the internet, and here's why. If you go to this site right here, Spokeo.com, what this is it's an aggregator that pulls personally identifiable information from all over the internet, and it compiles them all into one database and one searchable database that you can find information on anyone. Now, typically you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why would anybody want to know about me? If you're on the internet, eventually as you put more stuff out there, somebody's going to want to know about you. And usually they want to know about you for the wrong reasons. This is live, so I just got whoa, holy moly, whoa, okay, nothing to worry about, just a pandemic, just a global pandemic, nothing to see here, folks. Let's keep going. Yeah, it was a actual warning in my area talking about how the global pandemic is like really bad in this area I'm in. Speaking of areas, so you never want to put your real name or your location, and here's why. What I want you to do, and just follow along with me. Put the name of your mom or your father, the full name of your mother or your father, and then put the city that they currently live in. This is going to freak you out, and I'm going to explain what's going on and you should have an understanding. Okay, let's say my dad's name was John Smith and he lives in Pasadena, California. Pasadena, CA. That's all you got to do. First, last name of your mother or father, and then where they live currently, and then hit search. So this right here is available to anybody. If I knew the name of your mother and father, if I knew your real first, last name, middle initial, and I knew where exactly what town you were in, and I put that in there, I would be able to know all the information you're about to see right now. So here's all the information. Now there's tons of John Smiths in there. So John Smith is such a common name, you'd probably have to put a middle initial. But I think you get the idea. So it tells me that John Boyce Smith in Raphael, California. It tells me everywhere they've lived in California. It tells me all the people who are associated with this person. And you can actually go a lot further than that. You can get phone numbers, you can get addresses. The reason why this is dangerous is that somebody could take one part. This site says a little bit, but you can go to another site, such as Google, and do the same thing and get even more information. Do the same thing on Google. If you go to Google and you type in John Smith, Pasadena, California. Search that. What it'll come up with is all kinds of stuff. John Smith is a very poor example, by the way. But you put your first name, last name. Try it with yourself. Put your first name, last name in there, and then comma, where you live. It's going to shock you. Do the same thing with your mother. Do the same thing with your father. This works in the U.S. I don't know if this works in any other countries. The U.S. is notoriously bad with privacy. They don't have any privacy for people, regular citizens. And it's because we don't have the political will to actually implement any serious privacy laws and standards. They have them in place, but they don't enforce them. And then they're very weak. They don't have any teeth. So in places like Europe and places in some parts of Asia, they take it a lot more serious. The U.S., I think Malaysia does. I want to say the EU for sure does. I believe the UK does with GDPR, I think it's called. U.S. really doesn't have anything, so our information is freely available. You'll see information. And this is, if you've ever gotten a letter in the mail, especially if you own a home or if you own a business, they have all your information. They know where you live. They know your first name, last name. They know probably who lives in the house with you. They have your phone number. They can send you all this information. It's just a free-for-all. And it's just sad that the U.S. doesn't take our privacy more serious. It's just really terrible. And I hope that at some point our federal government will be more serious about our personal information. Your information is, if you own a house, it's going on public record in the counties. If you own a business, it's on public record on their site, which is fine, but there should be a little bit of protection so that some crazy person doesn't show up at your house. And this is why, like, what I've noticed is the more people who know me on YouTube and on social media, the more paranoid I get, because, you know, not everybody has my best interest or my family's best interest at heart. There's a lot of sweet, nice people out there and everything. The majority of the, out of 1,000 people you meet, most 999 of them are going to be fine. But there's going to be one person who just hates you for whatever reason, and they're not all there. And the U.S. has some extreme issues with health, mental health issues. The problem is they don't care about it, and people just ignore it, and there's a serious problem in this country. So I'll get off my soapbox about that. I just want to let you know, don't put your real name and your location. I wouldn't put it anywhere on the internet. I personally don't do it, and I learned my lesson because there was a time when I owned a business here locally where I live in Colorado. I can tell you that I live in Colorado, and the business got popular, and people knew who I was. Like, I'd be walking in the store and they'd be like, hey, there's this or that person. There he is right there. It's Bruce. You know, how you doing, man? You know, and what happened was somebody Googled me and they saw me on a dating site and they started like roasting me about this dating site I was on. This was years ago, but it's just like I laughed at the time, but at the same time I'm like, okay, I need to take all my information off the internet. I need to take all my so Bruce Brown's not my real name. And I don't put my real location on the internet. And that's it's for that very reason, you know. Just a little bit of healthy suspicious being a little bit suspicious, right? And I don't allow my kids to put their real name on there either. Just be wary of it. And even when you're putting out resumes, another thing I'll do is I'll change the last name or something. I'll put a different phone number. I'll put a Google Voice phone number. I even protect clients I've worked for. I don't put too many details about what they have in their environment. I don't give so much information that somebody could use that information to try to attack them, or you put so much personal information that they could attack me personally. So I'm just very cautious about what information I put online, and you should be too, especially in the United States where there's currently it's just a free-for-all. It's the wild, wild west. They do not protect our interests as far as personal privacy and all our information out there. As a matter of fact, it's like they're harvesting them and using them to advertise to us, and we're basically the commodity that they can advertise to. And that includes Facebook, that includes Google. I mean, I use all these tools and Instagram and all of them, but I use them very cautiously, and I use them in a way that benefits me and not the other way around as much as possible. So you guys should do the same thing, just letting you know. Okay, there was something else I wanted to talk about regarding questions that I get. Shaw Briggs says, yeah, you have to be very careful. Yeah, I agree. You have to be careful out there with your information. Okay, another thing I want to talk about real quickly, and is politics in IT jobs. Like, if I've been working in IT for a long time, and I just want to, because of all the stuff that's going on, I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to do it. It's a toxic thing to talk about right now. But I just want to talk about controversial or political or religious things in IT jobs. What is it like? What can you do? What has been my experience? Because it does come up sometimes. And for me personally, I can tell you, I just avoid the topic because you're just going to be disappointed. You know, you're going to talk to somebody, they're not going to agree with your political opinion, they're not going to align with how you feel about things. It's just best to just avoid it and just keep it as a working relationship, and don't go down that rabbit hole. Now, if somebody happens to be very in line with what you feel or believe or whatever, and you guys happen to be neighbors or something like that, of course you can open up about it. But if it's just a coworker, it's just best to avoid it. And this is coming from a person who loves talking about it, because I believe that it's therapeutic to have a conversation about race, religion, politics, all those things we're not ever supposed to talk about. I like talking about it personally, but a lot of people are very sensitive about it, and they can't take other people having a different opinion than them. So it's best to just avoid talking about it when you're at the job. It's just don't do it. And then talking about environments I've worked in, I can't point to any. I mean, I'm being completely honest, and I've been working outside the military. I've been working outside since 2003, and I can tell you honestly that I haven't had any toxic working environments that were politically toxic. I've had working environments who are incompetent, where there's a lot of people who are incompetent, and the toxicity is people attacking each other because blaming each other for this or blaming each other for that. I've had those, but not like from a political perspective where people are attacking each other or it gets racial. Or I've not had that happen. In the military, kinda, it happened, but not outside the military. And I've really been blessed in that department. And I think maybe it's because, number one, I love talking about that stuff. So whenever I have somebody who is willing to open up about it, I love to talk about it. But if they're too sensitive, I just back off and I won't talk about it. So I'm very open-minded about all topics. And another thing is, I try to avoid talking to people who are very sensitive. So I just keep it very work-related. I don't bring up who did you vote for or anything like. No, I don't talk about that. If it's somebody who I know who can take it, and I don't care who they voted for, but if they are okay with how I feel about it and they're more open-minded like me, regardless of their political leanings or their religious whatever, then I'll just open up and talk. And I love talking about it because for me it's therapeutic. The best working environments I've been in protect marginalized communities. And they're not pushy on their beliefs. They put it out there and they're protecting marginal. When I say marginalized, I mean like people of color, the LGBTQ community. They're very supportive. Some companies I've been in, very supportive. They're like, hey, you're welcome here. We don't ever want you to feel left out. We don't want you to feel marginalized. We want you to be part of our team. And then on the flip side, they're not pushy about it. They're not like, there's some people who don't agree with any of it, and they're just there to do their job, and they have a completely 180 degree opinion about it. And that same company who is protecting marginalized communities also is allowing other people to be neutral about how they feel. In other words, they're not pushing their agenda, but they're not being forced to be pulled into the protect the marginalized communities. And those, in my opinion, those have been the best organizations that I've worked in. And a lot of them are either that or they're completely neutral. They just never talk about it. It never comes up. It doesn't come up in email. It doesn't come up in meetings. Nobody talks about it, and then that's it. So, and I'm cool with both of those things, by the way. Ultimately, my advice is what I've done about the whole thing that's really helped me out is to just go there to work. Just keep it as a completely innocuous working relationship. Don't bring up religion, don't bring up politics, don't talk about race. Just keep it completely just like when people are fixing my house. I don't ask them who they voted for. I don't ask them what their religion is. They're here to fix my drywall. That's it. And then they're going to leave. That's how I am when I go to work. I'm like, I'm here to work on this security control, and then I'm out. Let me see. Shaw Briggs says, is student loan debt a major reason that people don't get clearances? That is a good question. I have not heard of people not getting a security clearance for that reason in particular, Shaw. One of the reasons that I've seen people not get it is having a criminal past. Let me just hold on. Top reasons people do not get clearances. I'm just curious. I'm curious of why people don't get clearances. Okay, let's see here. Let's read through this. This is on militarybenefits.info. Rejection for clearances. Top administrative reasons for a security clearance being rejected: missing information, missing social security number, missing information on relatives, missing selective services information, missing incomplete information in bankruptcy. Oh yeah. So this list here, I have not seen people reject it for this. I've seen people be on like a hold, like a temporary hold or an interim security clearance. I've not heard of anyone having too much debt. And I imagine they have to be debt from like another country or something like that. Probably if you had a bunch of debt in like Iran or something like that, or in China, probably. I would probably venture to say that there'd be some questions that needs to be asked. You know, if you're with an enemy of the United States, quote unquote, a country that's at odds with the U.S., then probably that's going to come up and that's going to be an issue. Trying to think of real world situations that I've really heard about, and most of them, now that I think about it, yeah, it's these things right here. And normally it's not bankruptcy. I swear I've not heard of anybody going, the debt is something, maybe it's because they keep it personal. This one I haven't heard of. These other ones, many of the other ones I've heard happening. I imagine it's all of these, and normally what happens is they put it on an interim security clearance or interim top secret, and basically they're just doing a little bit further checking to make sure everything's cool, and then eventually you get it. And I've not heard of many people just not getting it at all, but I'm sure it does happen from time to time. What about you guys? You guys out there, I'm sure there's people who are watching who have some experience with this, who have heard about people not getting a clearance because of this. I know that there's been people who are born in other countries who are naturalized citizens, and I think that when they're doing the background investigation, it's taking longer to get information from their country. I've definitely heard about that. I worked at a place where there was a lot of Filipino. There's a lot of Filipino and Jamaican and yeah, that was the main. And they had typically when they were getting a clearance, unless they already had one, because the background investigation would have to go to home country or whatever, and they were naturalized citizens, but they had to go back to their home country and ask neighbors or whatever, and it would just take a little bit longer to gather information. I imagine that's what was happening. But student loans, I've not heard anybody getting denied for it, to answer your question. I heard you, Shaw Briggs says, I hear you about the name thing, but with my real name, there is no hiding. Yeah, I mean, it's for me personally, I've been on social media for a long time, and I just have a natural paranoia about it myself. The government already knows everything about me, like everything. I've had so many clearances, and I worked with them so long, so I'm not really worried about the U.S. government having my information or watching what I'm doing or whatever. I don't care about that. What I do care about is somebody getting my real name and real location and then coming to my house. I'm worried about how they're going to treat my kids, what their intentions are. I just had a lot of, and I'll just be frank with you. Like, I have another channel that got really popular, and me and my wife make videos on there, and we made a video that went viral, and some people really hated it, and they were threatening us. They were like, I'm gonna come to your house, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, I know where you live. This all lies. They didn't know any of that, because we don't put our real name out on the internet, and I don't have my real. I've already learned that lesson, you know what I mean? So do your best to find me. But and I'm sure, given a certain level of resources, anyone can find out where I live, what's my real name, my mom's maiden name, my father's real name, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that they could find all that stuff, but I'm just taking the extra step. I use an alias. I use I don't say my the county and house that I live in and all that kind of stuff, because it's gonna come up with everybody who I'm associated with, my kids. You can figure out what school they go to. I just don't want that kind. I don't know how celebrities do it, to be honest with you. I don't really know how they live under that constant microscope of people knowing where they are and all that kind of stuff. I don't understand how they do it, and I personally know I couldn't do it. So thank you guys for watching so much. Appreciate all the questions. And once again, if you are interested in knowing a lot more about cybersecurity, risk management framework, check me out on Convocourses.com. And I've got a, let me just go there, Convocourses.com. And I've got a new addition to my documentation course. It's still just pretty cheap right now. I'm going to have some Black Friday sales on all this stuff soon. And this one's going to get added to. And there's no additional cost when I add to it. This is going to go from, has gone from 3 hours to 5 hours to eventually it's probably going to be more like 8 hours of content. So I'm going to have to raise the price on it. So just to kind of recap on what I talked about before, yeah, hit that like button. Thanks, Shaw. Appreciate you. Thank you so much to all people who have purchased the course. It really helps me to continue to do this kind of content. It helps me to know, hey, people want this stuff. People are listening. People are watching. And just to kind of let you guys know what I'm doing in the background here, I'm trying to work with other trainers, other teachers, people who teach way better than me, people who have way more knowledge than me, reaching out to them to get more content out here to help more people to live their best life, essentially. And I'm getting some people who have responded. I'm working with them, and hopefully it turns out good, and we give great content out there. I mean, I'm sure we will give great content and put it out there. So that's what I'm kind of working on in the background, hoping to get lots and lots of content, put it out there, and just flood this thing full of great content so that we can help as many people as possible. And we're going to have free stuff. We have paid stuff, maybe some live webinars and all kinds of stuff is what I would like to do in the going forward. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for helping. Thanks for your questions.